Hello everyone, how are you all doing? In this video, we will be following a new way. Not gonna call it new, but a different way. Where we go through the keywords before we go study. So I'm not gonna go through all the keywords. I'm just gonna show you them and then study them. The ones that I feel like we already know. We're just gonna recap first. So let's go. These are them till here. So yeah, let's go. Let's go. Aorta. As you know, it's the main artery that carries oxygenated blood away from the heart to the rest of the body at high pressure. Aorta oxygenated away. Both are vowels. Away. Aorta oxygenated. Arteriole is a smaller type of blood vessel that connects arteries with capillaries. Artery, a type of blood vessel that carries oxygenated blood at high pressure away from the heart. Capillary, a very small blood vessel with thin walls and a small diameter, one endothelial cell thick, used for substance exchange in tissues. Cardiac lung. Circulation, a type of mass transport that overcomes the limitation of diffusion in meeting the requirements of organisms. Coronary artery, the main artery that supplies the heart tissue with oxygenated blood, the one outside. Diffusion, the passive spreading out of substances from high concentration to lower concentration down concentration gradient without the use of energy. Hemoglobin, as we took in the last what is it called? Chapter. It's like a globular protein, the oxygen carrying conjugated protein found in erythrocytes, which has a quaternary structure made up of 2 alpha and 2 beta chains, which each contain a heme prostate group. Left atrium, the chamber in the heart that receives oxygenated blood from the pulmonary vein and passes it onto the left ventricle. You can check the Instagram account. That was easy to memorize. I had something, but I forgot, to be honest. But it was easy to memorize back at that time. Left ventricle, the on the Instagram. Yes, I said Instagram, right? Yeah. The syllabus pictures group post. Igcse.science.notesz. Anyways, left ventricle, the chamber in the heart that receives oxygenated blood from the left atrium and pumps it out of the heart to the rest of the body. Mass transport, the bulk transport of substances to all parts of an organism using mass flow. Pulmonary artery, the main artery that carries oxygenated blood, the deoxygenated blood out from the heart to the lungs for reoxygenation. Pulmonary vein, the main vein that carries oxygenated blood away from the lungs and pulls it back to the heart. Right atrium, the chamber in the heart that receives the oxygenated blood directly from the vena cava and passes it on to the right ventricle. Right ventricle, the chamber in the heart that receives the oxygenated blood from the right atrium and pumps it out of the heart to the lungs for reoxygenation. Vein, a type of blood vessel that carries blood at lower pressure into the heart from other parts of the body. Vena cava, the main vein that carries deoxygenated blood into the right atrium of the heart. Ventricle, a type of chamber in the heart which receives blood from the atrium above it and pumps it out of the heart. That's it. Right, let's now go and study this chapter. Let's go. The circulatory system. We start with the mass transport. One important question that we must know: why we need a transport system. Diffusion in single-celled organisms can occur directly between the external environment and the cell, and this is known as simple diffusion, as it occurs only through the cell membrane. Exchange of substances such as oxygen for these organisms occur very quickly as they have a very large surface area to volume ratio. For larger organisms, like us humans, we have a low surface area to volume ratio, meaning diffusion would be too slow to supply all cells with the nutrients that need, and this is why larger organisms have mass transport systems that supply all cells with vital substances. As you know, there are factors that increase the diffusion or decrease it, right? So the small unicellular organisms, as we've mentioned, do not need a transport system because substances move by diffusion. This can only occur in unicellular or very small multicellular organisms, as we've mentioned. Why? Because they have larger surface area to volume ratio, small diffusion distance, steep concentration gradient, and lower energy requirements. So there are no limitations of diffusion. In other words, these are the factors that increase the diffusion rate: larger surface area to volume ratio, small diffusion distance, steep concentration gradient, and lower energy requirements. Now, Large organisms have circulatory system and heart, which is an example of mass transport system. This is because heart pumps blood all around the body in mass flow. Heart pumps blood at varying pressures depending upon need. Blood vessels of circulatory system contains the blood, and capillaries ensure all tissues are delivered oxygen and nutrients, such as glucose, and remove waste. Once substances are delivered, they move in and out of capillaries by diffusion. Circulatory system also helps regulate body temperature, where the transport medium blood distributes heat all around the body. Diffusion alone was not sufficient for these tasks because their larger organisms have a smaller surface area to volume ratio and higher metabolic rates. Therefore, to overcome the limitations of diffusion, they have this mass transport system. So this is why we have a mass transport system. So just let's know more about it. Now let's talk about the circulatory system. The mammalian circulatory system is comprised of the heart and three types of blood vessels: arteries, veins, and capillaries. Each blood vessel is adapted to its role of the circulation of the blood. What are the roles? Let's know them now. The arteries. Arteries A take oxygenated vowel blood away from the heart. This vessel has thick walls containing muscles and elastic that expand and recoil with each heartbeat to withstand the high pressure of the blood. So why does the arteries have thick walls containing muscles and elastic? Because they carry high pressure blood. That they have a relatively small lumen, hole in the center through which the blood passes. Arteries contain no valves. Its inner lining is folded to allow it to stretch. Arteries split into smaller blood vessels called arterioles, which split into capillaries. They are lined with smooth endothelium to reduce friction and ease flow of blood. Capillaries. Arterioles branch into these to supply cells with substances from the blood. They are numerous and highly branched to have a large surface area. Their walls are one cell thick to allow quick diffusion. Very narrow diameter to reach close to every cell. Veins. Capillaries join back up to form these. So veins carry the oxygenated blood back to the heart. Carry blood at low pressure, so have thin walls. Have a wide lumen to maximize blood flow to the heart. Have valves to prevent backflow, blood flowing in the wrong direction. Before we go to the structure of the heart, I want you to know that whatever we skip, we do not skip. Whatever we do not repeat much, because we have a separate video that we're gonna repeat as much as we wish to. Okay, inshallah. So here, let's just revise a small part about the heart. Basically, the arteries, veins, and capillaries. Arteries move oxygenated blood away from the heart and to respiring tissue. Arteries are thicker walled with elastic structures for stretch and recoil, and blood held under a high pressure. Veins move the oxygenated blood from the respiring tissue to the heart so that the blood can be pumped back to the lungs and be oxygenated. Veins carry blood at a lower pressure and therefore have valves to stop backflow of blood. Capillaries, the smallest type of blood vessels, are typically one cell thick and therefore are suitable sites for exchange to occur. Their lumen is big enough to accommodate the width of a red blood cell, but only just. Do you know what a red blood cell is? The red blood cell is basically the one that carries the oxygen. But what are the characteristics? They have no nucleus, so have a large volume inside cell for storing oxygen. The biconcave shape for maximized surface area for exchange of gas, filled with oxygen transporting pigment Hb or hemoglobin. Okay? Now let's go to the place where we live. Circulatory system has two types, either open circulation or closed circulation. The open circulation is basically only a heart, and it's present and there are no blood vessels but circulates in open space, for example, present in insects. Closed, a heart, blood vessels are present. Blood is enclosed inside vessels, present in larger animals, and there are advantages such as pressure can be increased to make the blood flow more quickly, and the blood flow can be directed more precisely to the organs that need most oxygen and nutrients. There are two types of the closed circulation, either single circulatory or double circulatory. Those information are basically from the O level, but we're just going to repeat them again. Single circulatory are found in fish, for example. Blood passes by the heart once per cycle. This is mainly the point. Blood is pumped from the heart to the gills for gas exchange, then to tissues, then the oxygenated blood returns back to the heart. Passes through the heart only once. What about the double circulation, which happens in birds and mammals, and humans as well? Birds and mammals, which are mammals, humans, which are mammals. Birds and mammals need more oxygen than fish, as they are higher level organisms, having higher metabolic rate and need to maintain their body temperature, which fish doesn't. Fish don't. So, birds and mammals evolve double circulatory system. Blood passes by the heart twice per cycle. It consists of pulmonary circulation between heart and lungs and systematic circulation between heart and body tissue. Those are the diagrams. These no one cares. Advantage of the double circulation. It ensures complete separation of the deoxygenated and oxygenated blood. This maintains a steep concentration gradient across the lungs and tissues. The left ventricle pumps blood at a relatively higher pressure to ensure rapid delivery of more oxygen and nutrients to the body tissues. The right ventricle pumps the oxygenated blood at a relatively lower pressure to prevent damage of the thin capillaries surrounding alveoli. Slow flowing blood in lungs allows gas exchange to take place. This was impossible in the single circulatory system because systematic pressure was limited and lower, otherwise gills would be damaged. So this slows down oxygen and nutrient delivery, limiting metabolism. Before we go to the next part, let's just go through the main blood vessels in the heart. The aorta, the vena cava, pulmonary vein, and the coronary artery. I know we've done this in the keywords, but do you know what an aorta is? It's the main artery leaving the heart. Left ventricle powerful contraction causes high blood pressure in aorta as blood is squeezed around the body. The vena cava returns the deoxygenated blood from the respiring tissues to the right atrium. The pulmonary artery, the only artery in the heart to contain deoxygenated blood. The pulmonary artery carries the oxygenated blood from respiring tissue to the lungs to be oxygenated. The pulmonary vein returns the oxygenated blood from the lungs to the heart into the left atrium before a second contraction event pumps the blood through the aorta. Coronary artery which supplies the heart myogenic muscle with oxygen so it can respire, make ATP, and contract. Okay, great. Let's now study the structure of the heart. The heart is comprised of four chambers, the left and the right ventricles, which receive blood into the heart, and the left and right atria, which push blood out of the heart and into arteries to go to the lungs or the body. Between the ventricles and the atria are the atrioventricle valves, which prevent blood flowing back from the ventricles and into the atria. Between the ventricles and the arteries leaving the heart are the semilunar valves, which prevent backflow of blood from the arteries into the ventricles. Mammals are described as having a double circulatory system. This is because, as we've mentioned, the blood flows through the heart twice in each circulation. Blood first enters the heart into the right atrium through the largest vein in the body, which is the vena cava. The first time it leaves the heart, it travels from the right ventricle via the pulmonary artery to the lungs where it becomes oxygenated. The blood then returns to the heart via the pulmonary vein into the left atrium. The second time the blood leaves the heart is from the left ventricle via the aorta. Which blood flow now? Blood flows to the rest of the body. We say blood, 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 blood. A lot of blood is all over the text. But what is blood? Blood is composed of four components: plasma, leukocytes, platelets, and the erythrocytes. Basically, the plasma, which is the liquid part of the blood, the leukocytes, the WBC, white blood cells involved in the immune system, phagocytes and lymphocytes later in the immune system, platelets involved in blood clotting, erythrocytes, we're going to also talk about this in details, erythrocytes, red blood cells involved in carrying oxygen, carbon dioxide, and we've covered this earlier. If you do not remember, it's basic, and we're going to cover it now in the other PDF as well. Neonucleus still have a large volume inside the cell for storing oxygen by concave shape for maximized surface area for exchange of gas, filled with oxygen transporting pigment, HB or hemoglobin. Adaptations of blood cells to carry out its function by concave shape, providing a greater surface area to volume ratio to carry oxygen. No nucleus, no mitochondria, allowing more space for more hemoglobin. Small diameter to allow it to squeeze through capillaries. Transport of oxygen and carbon dioxide. Hemoglobin is a respiratory pigment found in RBC cytoplasm. It's made up of 4 polypeptide chains, each with an iron-containing heme group to bind 4 molecules of oxygen. Binding of first oxygen is slow and difficult, but after first oxygen binds, the protein structure of HB changes, so binding of the second and third oxygen becomes easier and faster. This is due to cooperative binding. Once in lungs, all four hemoglobin groups bound to oxygen. Then hemoglobin is HB is called oxyhemoglobin. 1 HB plus 4O2 is equal to 1 HbO8. Once in respiring body tissues where O2 levels are low, HB unloads oxygen, which then diffuses out of RBC into the blood and into tissues. Carbon dioxide is transported around body in three ways: as carbon dioxide, only 5%, as bicarbonate ions, and as carbaminohemoglobin. Carbon dioxide diffuse out of respiring tissues into blood, and some is transported like that. Majority diffuse further into RBCs and combine with water in the reaction catalyzed by enzyme carbonic anhydrase to form bicarbonate ions. This is a lot of chemistry that I don't like. So we're just gonna skip this part and just focus on it in the revision part because it's more into numbers and stuff. Not what I like. So we're just gonna focus on in the what is it called? In the revision part. So before we go to the Bohr effect, let's revise, not this PDF, this one.